Hello, everyone, and welcome to Aaron Shack Politics. We have some very heavy topics to discuss today, and this has really hurt me on a personal level. But Hossam Shabat has been murdered. As you can see in the image here, he has been killed. He was a 23-year-old journalist in Gaza. He was killed by a direct Israeli strike on Monday. That would be March 24th, 2025. Um, Hossam spent 17 months documenting Israel's war on Gaza, and just hours after reporting the killing of his fellow journalist, Mohammed Mansour, Israel targeted the press vehicle that he was in. And so currently, we've talked about this in the past, but currently the death toll for journalists because of Israel, of Palestinian journalists, is up to 208 journalists killed. And that is a record. There's never been that many journalists killed in any sort of war or conflict or area like this. This number is, and I hate to use the word unprecedented, but it really feels like the only word that's like applicable here, because it's never happened before. It doesn't make sense. They're clearly marked, of course. The press always wears
the
these jackets here.
23-year-old
So you always know what they look like. So let's listen to this report from Middle East Eye on this.
This is Hossam Shabat, the 23-year-old Aljazeera Mubasher reporter in North Gaza.
أمام صمت العالم أجمع الآن جيش الاحتلال يرتكب مجزرة جديدة.
A brave young journalist who documented the past 17 months of Israel's brutal war on Gaza. He was killed on Monday in a direct Israeli strike on the vehicle he was in, a vehicle clearly marked for press.
Hossam Shabat! Ya Allah! Hossam!
Hossam was an outgoing young man, loved and cherished by many people in the Gaza Strip and across the world. Just hours earlier, he was reporting on Israel's killing of fellow journalist Mohammed Mansour and the continued Israeli attacks on the area. Hossam would always wear a clearly marked press vest whilst reporting. He, like many other journalists in Gaza, had received multiple death threats from Israel for his reporting, but continued his coverage undeterred. Hossam was from Beit Hanun in North Gaza, which saw some of the most intense Israeli attacks during the war. He was among those besieged and trapped in the north of the Strip, as Israel restricted movement and cut off aid, and one of the few voices able to continue reporting from there. Hossam was cut off from his family for over 400 days. He endured the forced starvation and collective punishment imposed by Israel. Since October 2023, over 208 press workers have been killed in Gaza, the highest in any conflict or war, most of whom were Palestinians killed by Israel. In October 2024, Israel also killed Al Jazeera reporter Ismail El-Ghul and his cameraman Rami El-Rifi in a similar direct targeting of the press car they were in. For many people around the world, Hossam was a young and passionate journalist who worked hard to report from the ground, broadcasting the difficult conditions Palestinians in Gaza were enduring, with him amongst them. Following the direct targeting of Hossam, many of his colleagues in Gaza shed emotional tributes and say they will continue Hossam's legacy and continue reporting, despite this immense loss of their dear friend and colleague. Hossam Shabat and Mohammed Mansour's killings come a week after Israel completely broke the ceasefire agreement and resumed its deadly bombardment of the Strip, killing hundreds of Palestinians in a matter of days. The Al Jazeera network condemned in the strongest terms the assassination of their journalist and promised to pursue legal action against the perpetrators of these crimes.
حسام شبات لقناة الجزيرة مباشر شمال قطاع غزة.
I don't know.
This is Hossam.
People, no one has the courage that these journalists have that are reporting on this. And, he's a young guy that, just took up the job because, what else are you going to do? And, he did the job admirably and he reported. And we've shared so much of his reporting on the channel. And he had even liked and retweeted some of my videos covering some of the stuff that he was reporting on. And I was just, providing commentary and sharing my perspective as a Palestinian American of my assessment of what I see and and just comparing that to the experiences of myself and my family. And I don't know, he's just such a bright young guy, and it's just so cruel that this world, he deserves so much better, and this world just could not give it to him, to survive, the sort of first year plus of this, and make it to the ceasefire and get to see his family again, to just be robbed of a life beyond this genocide. It's beyond cruel, and I was distraught yesterday when I heard the news, because I mean, in theory, I'm always waiting for news like this, for each journalist, for every person that we see in videos, like, we're always kind of just waiting to hear that, this person that we knew or cared about is no longer here because of Israel and its cruel empire, and its, the war crimes that are carried out here, which this is a war crime. Journalists are protected, as are medical workers, all these other things, where Israel just continues to violate humanitarian law. I want to pull up another video. This is actually the footage of them finding him. And I think we should watch this. They blur it out, but
Hossam Shabat. Ya Allah. Hossam.
it's him finding
Hossam.
Hossam.
Ya Allah. Ya Allah. Ya Allah.
Ya Allah, my God.
Ya Allah. Hossam. Ya Hossam. 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 Ya Allah. Hossam. كنا سويا.
They're just distraught, man.
Ya Allah. Allah.
People don't know what to do with this amount of loss. It's just insane to me. And he's such a good-looking guy, and he's someone that's so brave and so admirable to do this. And I'm just in shock that he's gone. So this is his Twitter feed. I'm going to leave links to that down below, because, I think we need to dive into his final message here, which he has. And I'm going to pull that up because I believe TikTok has a nice little slideshow here. Says, if you're reading this, it means I've been killed. Hossam Shabat expected Israel to kill him, so he prepared this statement, which was later released by his team. I have been killed, most likely targeted by the Israeli occupation forces. When this all began, I was only 21 years old, a college student with dreams like anyone else. For the past 18 months, I've dedicated every moment of my life to my people. I documented the horrors in northern Gaza minute by minute, determined to show the world the truth they tried to bury. I slept on pavements, in schools, in tents, anywhere I could. Every day was a battle for survival. I endured hunger for months, yet I never left my people's side. By God, I've fulfilled my duty as a journalist. I risked everything to report the truth, and now I am finally at rest, something I haven't known in the past 18 months. I did all this because I believe in the Palestinian cause. I believe this land is ours, and it has been the highest honor of my life to die defending it and serving its people. I ask you now, do not stop speaking about Gaza. That's got to be the whole thing, right? Like, as they're killing journalists and they're bombing maternity wards and hospitals and cancer research, all these various places and schools and churches and everything during Ramadan, by the way, which is very direct that they were doing this. I mean, we can't stop talking about it. We can't stop sharing. We can't stop boycotting everything. Said, do not let the world look away. keep fighting, keep telling our stories until Palestine is free. For the last time, Hossam Shabat from northern Gaza. There he is, interviewing. And you can see the full post if you want to, read it directly from his page. I'll include a link to that down below. It's also, I also wanted to share this here. Hossam was killed alongside his best friend Mohammed Nadal. And Mohammed and Hossam have been childhood best friends, though they were separated during the genocide. For the past 400 days, Mohammed was forced to flee to the south. He had only recently returned to the north just 1 month ago, and they spent the entire month together. They shared the same tent, traveled side by side, and in the end, Mohammed was right next to Hossam when he was targeted. Mohammed and Hossam were together in life, but they remained together in death. May they both rest in peace. Look at that. I don't know. They deserved better, you know? People you've never met. How can you care for them? How can you have empathy, right? This is from another journalist, Abubakar Abed. You can follow him as well. He commentates from Deir el-Balah in Gaza. And so he says, Hossam has been pleading for you to help for over 17 months. No one ever stepped up. No one. This is what the world has allowed. You will see more of this. This is what you should expect. We are talking to deaf ears and blind eyes. We are bearing the brunt of this tragedy. And here's a video of him reuniting with his mother after 492 days. He used to tweet all the time, I just want to see my mother, I just want to hug my mother. And they were separated. So he finally... Yeah. And now he's gone, you know? Such a bright light in this world, you know? Someone sharing the truth with us over here where, you know, we don't have reporters that are doing the job, you know? America doesn't care, you know? Israel tries to, you know, destroy the message here, and they're killing the messengers, right? And there's nothing more direct than getting the message from people in Gaza just holding up cameras. You know, there's no way to corrupt that, right? Because it's so direct. And so he says, despite the dangerous and untrue threats made against us from the Israeli occupation, we remain committed to our profession and will continue to report on this genocide. That was in October of 2024. And then here, this is when, you know, ceasefire's over, things are back on, genocide's back. He's putting on the helmet and the press jacket and just, he's back there. So that's March 21st. I mean, just a few days ago. And he said, I thought it was over and I finally get some rest. The genocide is back in full force and I'm back on the front lines. And like, you know, he could have given up there. He could have just said, you know, I've covered it aggressively. You know, I need to move on. I need to be safe with my family, you know, take care of myself and those around me. But he, you know, he put his people and his country and his, you know, arguably his job here above everything, right? Because that's how important the press is in situations like this. They are the only messengers of truth in this conflict. Because you can't refute the evidence of genocide that's being sent here. And so I just want to share a few more things with you today. And I want to share one of these posts because you need to get a feel for what his coverage was like. We've covered a lot of his stuff on the channel, but I want to share with you the type of things that he has covered in this genocide. So he says here, thread about scenes from a hospital in northern Gaza today. Okay. And he says, hundreds of injured people have been arriving throughout the day. The lucky ones are transported by ambulance, but most are brought in on donkey carts or barely functioning cars and trucks. There aren't enough beds, doctors, or medicine. The air is filled with screams and cries. With no available operating tables, the hospital floor becomes the only option where young children are being hand-stitched. The hospital has run out of anesthesia, leaving young children to endure every moment of pain. So this is March 19th, 2025. It's pretty recent. The dead lie in the hallways, waiting to be wrapped in shrouds. Mothers scream for their children. Men hold each other, trying to offer comfort, but there are few words, few answers. There's not much of anything left except death. So much death. So much killing. Many of the injured could be saved, but hospitals don't have enough doctors, beds, or equipment to treat everyone. With limited resources, they are forced to choose who gets a chance to live. Palestinian doctors are heroes, some working 24-hour shifts while fasting. They look numb, exhausted, but they keep going because there's no other choice. They have to keep going. While the world may have given up on us, we cannot give up on each other. I leave the hospital with tears in my eyes, overwhelmed by pain and disbelief that this is happening all over again. That I have to see more dead children, that more innocent lives will be ruthlessly taken, simply because we are Palestinian. I gotta share that last part. That's the level of cruelty that we're operating in. March 19th, 2025. Today I met a woman holding 3 small children as she evacuated yet again. She told me it's probably her 30th time evacuating. Her husband, parents, and siblings have all been killed, and she now finds herself alone with young children, desperately searching for shelter and food. This is who Israel is bombing. And then here, this is from October 6th of 2024. He says, I promise you guys, I'm still carrying the torch. Rest in peace, my beloved Ismail and Hassan. So these are colleagues of his. This is how I'm trying to explain to you that they've been killing journalists, and everyone in this image is no longer here. And he kept carrying the torch despite knowing that 2 of his friends and colleagues are gone right here. Like, that's bravery like no other. That's courage like nothing Americans can relate to. Because he's not a soldier defending his country, right? He's not like an American that goes off to war to fight for our freedom and all that. Like, this is just the free press informing people and spreading the news of an ill-covered genocide that all of a sudden Western countries are starting to cover, but they're not using the right terminology. They're not calling it a genocide when it clearly is. They say someone's killed instead of murdered, instead of the more accurate terms that describe what has happened to these people. They say someone's beaten instead of tortured, right? They use different terminology when it's Palestinians. This last one here, this is, the caption says, this is the journalist Israel deliberately targeted and killed today to inflict fear to other journalists and prevent news from Gaza. So this is, they said that you were martyred. An occupation area in the north. We were about to mourn you, man. I swear. There's no God but Allah. Hey, the people love him. How am I supposed to become a journalist now if Hossam... No, wait, we gotta hear that again. I want to be a journalist when I grow up. I was thinking, how am I supposed to become a journalist now if Hossam Shabat was martyred? This video takes on an entirely different meaning. How am I supposed to become a journalist? Why martyred then? May God keep you safe. How am I supposed to become a journalist? God willing. God willing, goodbye. God bless him. You know, I hope he's somewhere, you know, in a better place. But, you know, he deserved better from our world and our people, and we didn't do enough, right? Like, I'm here trying to inform people, we're boycotting, we're doing all these various things, and it's not quite enough, because our country and Israel continues to bomb these people and to shoot these people, and it's spread into the West Bank now. So I mean, we're not just looking at one area that's being, you know, fenced in and just relentlessly bombed, and, you know, ground invasion coming back in, and, you know, you got the same thing in the West Bank now. Things are getting dangerous and dire, and it's not ambiguous. It's so clear what the goal is. But I just want to share his image here one more time, and thank you for people like this, and all the journalists that are out there. I know you're probably hurt, and, you know, you're wondering if you should step back or back down, and maybe seeing Hossam gives you renewed strength to, as he said, carry the torch and continue to report on the situation. Just know that there are people that are backing you and that care about you and are spreading the information that you're providing and making sure it gets out there to as many people as possible. And that's what we try to do here at Aaron Shack Politics. We can't allow this genocide to continue, and we have to do better for people like this, for people like Hossam, who have courage beyond anything I've ever thought I had or experienced or could even imagine in my mind. So, God bless him. Thank you. And I honestly don't know what else to say. I'm so full of anger and sadness, and he was just gone too soon, 23 years old. I mean, still a very young adult with a long life to live is taken from him. God bless him. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button. Share these videos if you enjoy the content that we provide here on the channel. And we'll see you all in the next one.